as a series has been going strong for 30 years now, starting with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light in 1990, all the way up to Fire Emblem Three Houses in the year 2019. But what if I told you there was another series released by the original creator of the franchise that was not only good, but exceeded Fire Emblem in a variety of ways? Tearing Saga was a strategy RPG made by Fire Emblem series director Shozo Kaga. It tells the story of two central lords, the noble Lord Runen and the hot-headed pirate Holmes. Though the two have strikingly different goals for the most part, with Runen seeking to stop the empire that drove him from his home, and Holmes being fixated more on having treasure hunting adventures. They are close friends who respect and admire one another in spite of their differences. While this may seem like the setup to a generic narrative experience, I can assure you that it's anything but. The Fire Emblem series has a plethora of interesting lords with their own unique appeals. However, with a few exceptions here and there, they can generally be separated into two groups: the noble, kind-hearted, and polite lords, and the hot-headed, brash, somewhat unruly ones. Runen and Holmes are no different. But what makes them stand out is that both of them may be described as the apex, shining examples of what both archetypes have to offer, while simultaneously refusing to glorify them, emphasizing the flaws such personality types may entail. Runen, again, is a shining example of the nobleman lord. He is serious to a fault, yet is a kind-hearted man who does his utmost to uphold a chivalric code. However, he tempers this chivalry with realism, understanding the measures that must be taken to win a war. Though with a heavy heart, he takes hostages from the battlefield if it means protecting them. He allows self-serving mercenaries to die for him if it means winning a battle against a powerful foe, and he understands that there are great men on both sides of a war, yet refuses to let them impede his journey if he must strike them down. While other noble lords, such as Celica and Eliwood, are idealistic to a fault, Runen understands the horrors of war and what must be done if he hopes to win. And yet, the story still understands that he is only a 17-year-old boy. When he allows his emotions to overcome him, he closes himself off, already not prone to showing weakness, and nearly ends up ruining the relationship he cultivated with the woman he loves. Holmes, on the other hand, though having noble blood still, is a pirate known as the conqueror of the Seeing Sea. He's greedy, thrill-seeking, and holds great ambition, yet has a charisma to him that draws others to his cause, proving himself time and time again to be not only tenacious, but a powerful warrior in his own right, by even those who detest him. Mind you, this is in spite of being, for the majority of the adventure, a pure archer, often considered to be a laughably bad class in the base FE series. And yet, the game makes sure to go out of its way to let the player know that he's more than just a brute. He still cares about the people around him, and is a huge history buff, with a strong passion for learning about the past. Yet in spite of being the older brother of their relationship, he has his own set of flaws that are emphasized far more than even Runen's are. He can be terribly blunt and insensitive, starting off his romance with his love interest, Katri, by making her cry. On top of that, he's bullheaded, preferring to rush into battles without strategy. And despite being so open with how he feels, supposedly, he is arguably worse with repressing his own feelings than Runen is. This culminates in him missing an opportunity to see his own mother for the first time in years, out of sheer discomfort at the concept. And yet, the flaws of these two are what make their story so engaging to follow. They are flawed people with a lot of growing to do, but they have friends they can rely on for support and for conversations that are enthralling for us as players to read. Speaking of which, Before we jump into this section, I want to fill in anyone who isn't aware on a crucial mechanic of the Fire Emblem series, the support system. The support system is a means by which players are allowed to unlock conversations between two specific characters, most often by having them stand next to each other for a period of time over each chapter. Though the conversations themselves are often rich and fulfilling, they suffer due to having to be separated from the main story, as they are entirely optional. Tiering Saga does away with that entirely, mastering the system in the process. In Tiering Saga, supports are weaved into the main story and are thus far less disconnected. Throughout the course of the story, characters may have their own ongoing plots with other members of the cast. They have full-blown arcs that aren't dependent on who you have them stand next to. They instead respond to the story and world around them as a player progresses through the game. The most say a player has over these supports is by sending characters to a specific army whenever Runen and Holmes decide to exchange party members. My go-to example to exemplify this is the case of Raquel, a sniper that Runen recruits early on in the story. She is famed for being a magnificent shot, having been able to hold off attackers from her village by wounding them, never once killing a human to uphold the vow she made long ago. This is reflected perfectly in the gameplay. Though she can kill monsters without issue, the most she can do to human enemies is reduce their HP to 1. Though depending on your choice, this may remain a static trait of hers throughout the game, she has the opportunity to develop past it. How? Let me explain. Raquel has a younger brother named Luca, who can be recruited early on in the story. Should you have him talk to her in the second chapter of the game, and send her to join Runen's army, she will at some point be put into a scenario where the player must either push her to kill a wounded enemy soldier, thereby causing her to leave you outright, or refuse to do so, resulting in a scene wherein Luca is killed, leading to her renouncing her vow and finally being capable of killing human enemies. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with Tiering Saga. Raquel's story is one of many, and is minor in the grand scheme of things, yet all the rest are written with the exact same level of care, being doubly impactful due to Kaga's focus on merging gameplay and story. And as a last point to drive this home just a little bit further, certain characters can actually change appearances when they promote into stronger classes. One such example is Sun, who gets a new look upon promoting into Black Knight, a touch I'm sure many veteran players will appreciate. That said, I hope you can understand why Tiering Saga is among my favorite games of all time. If you haven't already, and love the FE series, I highly recommend you give it a shot. Who knows, maybe you'll join me in the camp of people who consider it the best Fire Emblem game released thus far.